Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Complete Agent podcast. We're going to be recording one of these each week to sort of discuss how we're finding things in estate agency land. We're going to start to bring on some guests as time goes on. And we'd love to welcome any questions that you've got from those people who are watching or listening. So I'm sure a lot of people know sort of each one of us really from Facebook, but I'm Ian Storey and I have Stories of Cheshire. In Cheshire, James Kendall.
I'm James Kendall, and I have the most originally named estate agency called James Kendall Estate Agents from Bedfordshire.
Nice. Must have taken you a while.
Yeah, David Warburton, and I have Burton James Estate Agents, as well as We Locate, and we're based up in sunny Bury, Bolton, Great Manchester. Yeah, the Bury Borough.
It's Bury, isn't it? Not Bury.
It's Bury unless you're common, like you.
So, Dave, do you want to throw a few things at us that we're going to be talking about?
Yeah. So, first of all, just want to let you into this little secret. This is not the first podcast. I think we have to let people know that. We had a proper studio, and we did 2 or 3 other podcasts, but we've not actually released them yet. And I think we're going to have to go back now, aren't we? And check the content of that to make sure it's still relevant to the market we're in.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we didn't release that is because Kendall wouldn't stop talking. Me and
no promises. New year, new me.
Me and Storey couldn't get a word in edgeways, so we just bin those off. So hopefully we'll get a bit more action this time around. But I think we're going to be talking about a few things. So I think it's fair to say we've all had a fast start to 2024. And I know that speaking to other agents around the country and people that we're involved with, they have also had fast starts as well. So it feels like there's more buoyancy in the market, I think it's fair to say. Middle to end of last year was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a struggle, but the media seems to fuel confidence in the market, doesn't it? And it was all doom and gloom with consistent rising interest rates and rising inflation. But one thing I don't think was accounted for was wages, the growth of wages matching inflation. So that's really helped, I think, moving into the latter stages of the year. And I think we've started to just see, I think, a bit of confidence creep back in. 3 interest rate holds. Talk of interest rates coming down. Fellas, I don't know whether you're the same, but we've had loads and loads of new buyers coming to the market. And I think that's what we're going to look at, aren't we, today, where we've kind of put a lot of prep work in at the end of last year to get a fast start this year. And then we're also going to look at what we're doing now to generate valuations, sales, etc. immediately, but also just to keep the wheel turning so that we're consistently getting called out to the great homes that we go to.
Yeah, that's true. We're the same as you in terms of the start that we've had. We're busier than I thought. I sort of expected it to be better given the positive news on inflation and interest rates, and obviously the mortgage rates coming down as well. So I was expecting it to be good, but it's been really good. We target the team to book 10 vals a week. And between last Tuesday when we came back and yesterday, we booked 32, 34.
That's crazy.
Which is mental, yeah. And 3 or 4 good sales in the pipeline, got into the pipeline, should I say, and a good level of new instructions as well. So good, yeah. But like you say, there was a lot of prep work that went into that at the back end of last year that set us up right for this year. So I suppose we can't really turn back the clock with people that are listening, can we, to show them what they could do last year, but we can tell them a bit about what we did briefly, and then that might help them moving forward.
Yeah, and I think, Ian, it's just really important to clarify there. I think all 3 of us operate in the sort of mid to higher end. So 35 vals, was it? In that bracket is just incredible, particularly at the fees that you're getting. So,
yeah, really, really, really very good. Yeah, I mean, more than we thought. The team were a bit sort of flummoxed by it, really. There's so many, and when we always send out a pre-list pack to everyone.
Yeah,
but they've been like banging those out. It's been good. It's great, isn't it? That's what you want.
Yeah, 100%. I think our numbers are down. We're not quite at 30 odd, but I mean we've come in and we've booked well over 20.
I mean, mate, I would have been over the moon with that.
So would I, in fairness. Yeah. I mean, those are good numbers. But again, I think that's testament to what as a collective, been doing in each of our agencies prior to the new year. And again, a lot of these valuations that we've had have been, I would say, $1 million plus as well, which is to be honest, and in this area, looking at the market share in our area, that's a lot of vowels to go to. I mean, the majority, I'd say at least 10 of those are over a mil.
Yeah, wow. That's great, mate.
Which is really good. And two of those are coming on already. So it's really positive. But again, what we need to, I guess, need to talk about now is that's great.
Yeah,
but we tell everyone what we've done. But if you're listening, what can you do now to have an impact on the next 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah.
I think it's, sorry, Ian, I was just going to say, I think it's important just to quickly touch on that end of year though. Because it's going to be relevant moving into this first quarter as well, isn't it? Very, very similar approach. I think just at the end of end of Q3, if you think, we started prepping for that Christmas market, didn't we? So I listed, I think, 13, something like that, between 10 and 13. I think that there's a couple of stragglers, but between Christmas and New Year, and my conversations leading up to that were, you need to get ready now if you're thinking of selling in the new year, because by the time your Christmas tree's up, your decorations, you just don't want to be photographing properties at that time of year. It's a waste of time. So let's get you ready. So I think it's important to make that point. And obviously, as the year progresses, we'll get into that, the times of when to start getting ready. But it's so important. My point is that you prep well in advance for the markets that you're going into. So I think we all agree as well that the summer market, the perception from the public is that summer's actually really busy. It isn't.
No,
it's not
as busy.
People are going on holiday, kids are off school, people make plans, but then actually it's September that's a bit busy, isn't it? September and October.
I think one of the things that we did that you could definitely do at any time of year is we took a load of properties off the market that were stagnant.
Yeah.
So we only did it with clients who we trusted and who we knew and who we had a good relationship with, which is most of our clients. But we agreed that we would take it off for a certain period to relaunch it on Rightmove. So the official period on Rightmove is 14 weeks that it has to come off for, unless it's marked as under offer, in which case it can come back on after 7. So we agreed with a load of clients to do that, and that's worked really, really well, because we probably had 15 properties that, you know, were getting a bit stagnant. They were probably a little bit over, a lot of them on the price, and they needed a break and a relaunch. And we've done that. So that then meant we weren't sort of busy with loads of properties sat on the market that didn't have viewings on. The clients were happy because they weren't in a rush. And that's given us a swathe of new instructions that are coming on in January and February. Quite a few of them at new prices. So they'll come back on with a new price and a new date. Actually, funnily enough, a couple of those have sold in the last week. Ones that were already off the market because we left the board up and we left them on our website but took them off Rightmove.
Yeah.
A couple of those have sold, but what that's done is it's given the team a bit of downtime before Christmas and in back end of November. And that would work the same, I think, at any time of year. You could do that now if you've got, you know, a certain number of houses that are stagnant and you've got a good relationship with your client. That's key, that you don't want them to change agent in that time. You know that they'll wait for you. Then that's a great way to give yourself some new instructions, really, in a couple of months' time at a new price.
And new buyers in the market as well. You know, that's the other thing. There are people that are entering and leaving the market all the time. I was just looking at my phone. There's a article that come out today talking about how the Bank of England may be forced to bring forward rate cuts because there's supposedly inflation's gonna halve to 2% by April. And if you look at a site that I'm a big fan of that I promote, it's called Trueflation. And on there, inflation's tracking at about 2.9% at the moment, like in reality, which is obviously lower than the government reported rate. And knowing all of these factors in the market, it's slowly trickling into the media. I mean, you've probably all seen in the last week how many news reports there have been with rate wars on. You know, HSBC have slashed this, and Halifax have slashed this. There's a price war going on. You know, I think in our last letter that we wrote with a high value update, I think we said that HM Treasury predicted 3.5% interest rates by year end. And I think a lot of the banks can see that ahead now. And what that's really doing is giving buyers confidence that now's a good time to buy before prices maybe rise again, but interest rates are coming down, and now might be the perfect time to buy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I really think it's going to be a very good year for all of them.
I really do. I think
there is blocks there.
I mean, I think there's still deals being done for sure.
Yeah.
It's certainly, I mean, where we are, obviously, Ian, you and I are a bit closer, but certainly, I don't know about you, James, but it's not a buyer's market at all yet.
No.
And I think obviously we thought that was where it was definitely heading, but at the moment it still feels like there's a lot of positivity and the vendors still have a bit of the power. That's how it feels where we are anyway.
Yeah.
I think we're quite fortunate though, just to jump in. I think in a lot of the ways, because we sell without blowing smoke up our own backsides, because we sell a lot of the homes that people want to live in, like we are protected to a degree. But what I'm finding is that where we're helping clients with onward purchases or speaking to people in the market, those homes that don't have the sex appeal, so those homes that need 100k, 150k to be spent on, they're the ones that, you know, in the market where it was a real seller's market of 21, where they were still getting incredible prices because there was a lack of stock. They're the ones that are being hit the hardest, and in my opinion, the lower end where they're not as sort of sexy and ready to move into.
Yeah, there's a lot I've noticed looking around just in the last week. There's a lot on the market sort of between, for us the lower end is like 250 to 500, and there's a lot on the market at that level. But I think there's definitely ways that agents can be making their properties stand out even at that level. You know, I look like the majority that are on the market at that level, the marketing's awful and they don't stand out. So there's no wonder the client isn't getting the best price. And there's definitely ways we could help other agents to help their clients to improve the quality of the marketing, make those houses stand out categorically. You know, you still see photographs with washing and toilet brushes and, you know, cars on the drive and windows.
No floor plan.
You know, say that again.
No floor plan.
Yeah, and that's still so common. So even at that level, it's tougher, but you could definitely make your client's home stand out if you know what you're doing properly.
And to be honest with you, that leads into the fee that you're worth and differentiating you from the competition just a little bit. It's just even like going with the home staging and stuff, where most agents won't offer that service, and it's something that you have to offer at the higher end of the market.
I think you should offer it any level, Dave.
Well, yeah, I think
it's not difficult.
We do across the board, to be fair. We do, and you're right. It's a service that's not. It's not offered exclusively, is it? It's not across the board because people don't want to go to the effort. It costs. Let's be honest, it costs to do it,
and they don't think they need to. They don't think they need to. Yeah.
But if you're bottom feeding, if you're bottom end of the market, just constantly fighting, taking your own camera out to take photographs, doing your own floor plans, things like that, you're probably just the same as 90-95% of other agents out there. So, I mean, it's a whole other podcast, but you've got to differentiate yourself from the competition, don't you?
Yeah. So we jump in and talk about, so we've obviously, we need to touch on what we've done the previous 30 days, 90 days. So one of the things we do is we send out quarterly market updates to homes that are in my area. I send them out to council tax bands that are F, G and H in selected areas. I use a system called Spectre. There are other prospecting ones available, but Spectre,
you don't need to do that, mate. You don't need to do that. You can have whatever you want.
Use James 10 for a discount. So don't do it because it won't work. But then looking at that, so Spectre, for example, I can literally pull all the data from those council tax bands, filter out commercial properties, filter out, in my opinion, what I didn't want to do is send them to, and I know you guys feel differently on this, houses that were bought and sold in the last year, to get the numbers down, because we're sending 7,500 of these market updates out to people consistently every quarter, and I want to make sure that I choose which hands that they go into and make sure that they go into the best possible hands, because you have to be consistent with it, and it's something that we've all been doing for a while. And I think that, the proof's in the pudding. Again, the last quarterly update that we sent out literally just before Christmas, that's landed. And as you said, Ian, you've booked 30 odd vows. We're around 20. Dave, I can't remember how many you said that you guys had booked, but the whole point is we've smashed them out. They're landed. And the thing is, people are slowly taking action every week, and it's compound interest every quarter. Yeah. Every time you send it out, somebody that is, because if you send it out to 7,500 homes and they all rang you for evaluation, then you would be absolutely stuffed. And it would be the elusive silver bullet that people are looking for in agency. But
which doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist. And you've got to catch people at the right time. But
Yeah.
you're building a relationship with people that, not necessarily are all calling you back straight away. So that's what we do. But I think what would be great to talk about, yes, you need to maybe look at starting that now if you're not doing that, and that is a space you want to play in. And you talk to us about that. But what can you do if you're not doing that and you're not a part of the Complete Agent? What can you do today, Dave?
Well, I think, James, I think that people could try and write their own quarterly letter if they wanted to. I think, if you've got enough time on your hands to be able to write a letter that you think will sit well with people, I think you should try and write your own letter, because it works if you get it right, as we know. And you've just got to make sure that you're consistent. You send it out at exactly the same time each quarter basically to the same houses each quarter, unless you try.
You say that though, but how easy is it to do that and know what to write?
Well, people might find how easy or hard that is when they try it, but I think that the concept of doing it each quarter is very important. You might want to use a service like ours where we'll do it for you, or you might want to try and do it yourself. But I think trying to send something out regularly each quarter start that now, is a good idea, because we've been doing it now for a long time, haven't we? So we're now reaping the rewards from it. But I think people should definitely try and start to send something out every quarter.
So what would you think somebody else? So what, someone listening to this now, what in the next 30 days to have an impact in the next 30, 60, 90 days? So we can talk about, the future and writing those letters now, but what could you do today that's going to have an impact on your business in the next 30, 60, 90?
Well, you need, Dave, you're going to say something?
I was just breathing heavy, mate. But you go ahead. I
was just going to say that I think what people can do today is start to think about being different from other agents. So what every other agent is doing is sending a letter through Spectre or Home Search, and they all say the same thing. So I think people need to think about sending something different out to the clients that they want to attract. And I think that people need to think about a strategy that we've just started doing again more heavily now that stuff's taking longer to sell, is contacting stagnant stock that we've got the contact details for. So Aidan, who's part of our team, put a list together yesterday of properties that we want to attract that are sat on the market with other agents that have been sat on for months, same old story, and we've got the contact details for the seller. So it's all very well, like we do, writing quarterly market updates and sending them out, but obviously if you've got the telephone number for the client and the name, that's way more powerful. So we only target the mid to higher end, as you know, so pretty much everything we sell is over 400-500. The average we sell at's 850 now, 875. So Aidan put a list together of everything, and Nicola in our team is going through it, and she's already got one from yesterday, an 870 house, a lovely 870 detached house that's been sat on the market for months. So I think that's a quite quick win that people could employ. It sounds obvious, but really it's old-fashioned estate agency, isn't it? It's mining your database. It's who have you got on your database that's selling a nice house in your area now? And then what can you show that client about how different you are? What can you show them that makes you different from others?
So what do you think would be your process? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, sorry, it is a whole of the podcast, this, but you are what you attract, aren't you? You've got to make sure that you go back to the drawing board, I think, as well, with who is it you want to attract, but how do you look? Because if you're constantly getting called out to terraced properties, small semis, there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's the space that you want to operate in, that's great. But if you've got ambitions of moving up to mid to higher end, and if you're listening to this, you probably do, then it's a game changer, really. You've got to change your offering, haven't you? And you've got to look at what it is you're doing. I've been through it. Obviously, we've all been through it. Again, it's not for this one, but coming from the backgrounds that we do, we've been through it. We know what we used to attract consistently. And it's a different level there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it probably is a different podcast or something for them to put on our website maybe, but just to quickly drop in that we've all come from 999 fees, because I love that, Dave. I know you're smiling, but I do love that. We all were charging 999 and getting excited when we got 1895, including VAT 5-6 years ago, and now we're all averaging 10 grand fees. So if you follow us, the process does work, but you've got to stick at it consistently each month. James, did I add enough value then with that answer to the question about what people can do now?
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, you did. But what I was going to say is let's dive into it a bit more, though. What does that look like?
What does the process look like for?
Yeah, so you've got those people on your database that you found. Let's say you've identified one that you'd really like to be a part of.
Yeah.
What did you do next?
So what Aidan did is he put a list together. He put the Rightmove link. He put the client's telephone number and whatever other contact details we have for them. Sent it to Nicola, who's in the team, and Nicola will call each one of those. And I gave Nicola yesterday some sort of prompts of what she can say to people.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Simon Gates to put some data together for us. And we achieve, in 2023, we were achieving 6.16% more than any other agent in our area on the asking price.
Nice.
114% less likely to fall through. 114% less likely to reduce. 48 point something percent less likely to fall through. So I gave Nicola and the whole of the team these stats, first of all. And I said to them, look at the listing with the other agent and find something that we could improve on. And then ring the client. And first of all, go down the road of how are things going? And the client's probably going to say, I've not heard from them since December. Oh God, that is a shame. I'm sorry to hear you've not heard from them. Here's what I would suggest you do with your marketing. You've got your car on the drive, the kitchen needs the lights on, and you've got the cover on the barbecue. So I would suggest you speak to your agent and say, can you come back and re-photograph these areas for me because we think it would help. So I try and add some value and at the same time get into a conversation, obviously, about us going out to help them as well.
100%.
So first of all, you want to try and get a val, but if you can't get a val, you want to try and add some value to that client to leave them thinking of you in a positive way.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, the team are armed with these stats. So people will say, some people might say, how much do you charge? We'll say 2%. They'll go, oh, well, Joe Bloggs is only doing it for 0.75. And we'll say, well, yes, but we charge we achieve 6.16% more. So I think having your stats together before you start to make these calls,
you can't argue with the data, can you?
Can't argue with the data. And I put on it where the data, I put who compiled the data. So we've got proof,
Yeah.
It's not bollocks.
It's the majority of this will be in, especially if you're more established, it'll be in your database. Again, James mentioned Spectre, but if you're using the likes of Home Search, there's also some really good add-on tools for Rightmove. I think we all use them. So you can put the extensions into Google Chrome, and it gives you loads of great bits of data on Rightmove. So if you're not spending the money on Spectre or Home Search or something like that, there's a lot of data available for free now. If you have these extensions, it'll give you the house number, the EPC rating, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you could just ad hoc go and write a load of addresses if you wanted to, or pick the details up. But the likelihood is a lot of these people that are on the market will already be in your database. So having that time every day just to type addresses into your database will probably bring some fruit.
Yes. Yes. Keep on talking because I've forgotten what I was just going to say.
What were you going to say, Dave?
Well, no, it's proved very fruitful for us. We've done exactly the same thing, Ian, and it does work. You might only get one or two, but again, at the end that we're operating in, mid to higher end, these average of £10,000 fee, it's well worth putting the time aside. Definitely.
Yeah, massively.
We've just to jump in quickly while you're thinking about what you were going to say, and one of the things that we've done as well is send out on the market letters. So obviously between us, the letter that we put together just pre-Christmas, we sent loads out, again, targeting the ones that we really felt, we wanted, but B, we could make a difference. And after today's podcast, I'm actually going to see one person that's had a letter. They've been on the market for the best part of 18 months. They've had 2 different agents. One set of marketing's better than the other. But I still feel like there's a missing piece, and I still feel like I can add value. Because in that particular village, everything over 800,000, I've had market share for certainly for the last 18 months. I've just taken another one on, signed another one up in that same village that was on at 1.4 with another agent, and that's coming on with me again. Places where you can add value, and I think that might be a good place to talk in terms of, again, you talked about the cover on the barbecue and things like that. This house that I'm about to take on off the other agent is what's called a passive house. Now, we won't go into what a passive house is and talk about the intricacies of that on this podcast now, but I think it's understanding your product and knowing what you're selling. So this house here so if you look at it on paper, and it was marketed before as a modern 4-bedroom detached house, which is like 2,700 square feet. Now, there's loads of 4-bedroom detached homes that you could buy at 2,700 square feet, but this is a multi-comfort passive house that's officially been certified, and the marketing that was there before was pretty much photos, floor plan, and a really average video that was literally just somebody with their digital SLR on a tripod, just basically going left to right in each room. And the passive house, without going too deep into it on this podcast, because it's not what it's about, but there's so much detail associated with the passive house. So if I tell you it's a 2,700 square foot house and it costs them around £10 a month to run.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Shit,
Absolutely
yeah.
crazy. And there's so much detail and fabric in house. So what we're going to do, the seller was buzzing for this, is we're actually going to do a video with a client. So we're going to do 2 videos. One video where I'm doing the normal presenter-led tour, marketing round, but then we're going to do a longer video with our videographer where I'm interviewing the client, sat next to them. We're going through the plans. We're talking about the benefits and why it was a case study, what you actually get, because things like the plasterboard soaks up VOCs, and they specifically got that because it's great for people with allergies and things like that. So, and I just feel like there's so much detail to add in. And it can really make a difference.
I've thought about doing that a few times myself, not specifically about a passive house, but an interview with a vendor. If you've got the right vendor.
They built the house as well. Like this guy, I remember the reason I wanted to do this, when I went to see him and he was walking me around the house, he was telling me about all this stuff and I was loving it. I was like, this is great. Like I'm really invested in, again, the plasterboard, the VOCs, the fact that there's a 9 kilowatt array on the roof for solar. You could add battery storage into that. The house is passive. There's a coating on the glass anyway, talk about it all day.
What you're going to do is market it correctly, mate.
That's right. But then when it actually goes online, it's not just going to be marketed on Rightmove and we're going to hope someone goes, oh, put a 4-bedroom detached house for sale. Like it's going to go on LinkedIn. So it's going to hit entrepreneurs and people that might want to build or buy their dream house. And it's also going to go on YouTube, correctly tagged and keyworded. So if someone's looking specifically for a passive house, they can find it. Because that's the biggest thing. If you go into Google now and search passive house for sale, you're going to have all sorts of crap come up that's completely irrelevant, and there's nothing really for sale.
No, I've got another example of that. I'm a bit more sort of Fred Flintstone. You're brilliant with tech. I'm not quite as good with tech, but this is an example for me. So I went to one yesterday where I went a year ago, lost it on fee because they thought it was too expensive. 2 really nice barn conversions, underfloor heating, all that sort of stuff, brand new, good location, good village. And they went with a different agent. They've both been on the market since last May. Same photographs, classic. Same photographs since May. Same price, wow. No change. The only thing they can suggest to the seller is to drop the price by 50, 100 grand. Obviously.
Yeah.
So I went, this is one of the ones that Aidan flagged for me this week. He said, they're still on the market, those 2. So I rang the guy on Monday, went yesterday. I think I got them. He rang me this morning. I think I got them. And all I've suggested to him is, so one's on at 700, one's on at 800. I said, tweak the price slightly. Offers of a 675, offers of a 775. So we'll get the same price, probably a bit more. Twilight photography, as we always do. But I said to him, you need to virtually stage the rooms. So the rooms are all empty, soulless. So we use the guy in the Philippines who staged the room for like 100 quid a property. They look absolutely mint. And it's on a road. It's not like an A road, but it's quite a busy road that goes through a couple of villages, and it's a farm. So there's a massive expanse of fence, loads of fence, and there's like thousands of cars go past it each day. So I said to the guy, "You're missing out on a trick. Let's do some let's do some virtually staged photographs and get them on a banner, a massive banner like 12 foot by 4 foot, and stick it on the fucking fence.
Yeah.
Cars going past all day, 3 boards up, like that is not.
It sounds obvious, doesn't it? Like that. It's just good marketing.
Yeah, the guy was like, "Oh, great idea, mate! What a great idea!" It's things like that you can do to add value to be different to other agents, and then they'll pay you a higher fee because you're worth it.
The other thing I was going to say, guys, is on the market letters. I'm sure a lot of people do them in a fashion, and the one that's probably most common is. You've been on the market now for 8 weeks with such an agent, particularly the software that works now, the 1-page letters, and it will say it'll say a few different things about the company and how well the company is performing and how they're selling stuff, and I just feel that clients can see through it. you know. And actually, if you're looking after your clients, then they should never need to move regardless. We all know that.
Yeah.
What is the one thing when you guys go out to properties that are on the market, they've been on for 12, 16 weeks, whatever it is, what is the one thing that they say is lacking usually? Communication every single time. So you need to be talking to them about that sort of thing. And for me, the success that we've had with the most recent on market letter that we've used, obviously, as you know, is long form, but it's the most common problem that people have. The only three things that any estate agent can control is the exposure that the property actually gets, the quality of the marking, first of all, the exposure it gets, and then the quality of the communication with that client. Beyond that, the marketing is outside anybody's control. But the communication part of that feeds into the market. You've got to keep your client updated. So your letters really should be around that. They should be focusing on what is actually happening in the market right now that is probably affecting you. If there's a really shite photograph with, I don't know, coats on the back of chairs and toys everywhere in a busy room and stuff like that, of course you can make comments on that and say that you can make improvements to the marketing. But ultimately, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be communication, because a lot of the agents that you'll be up against, there'll be bigger teams, more established agents in the area, and they'll just have bums on seats. And I remember from my corporate days, I'm sure you were the same as well, JK, the one call that your sales negotiators hated making was the call to a vendor that's had no activity for 4, 6, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, they wouldn't even make it, and they just put a note on the system, pretending that they tried to get hold of them or whatever.
Yeah.
Before you know
message TCB.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get that call 8 weeks later, and it's like, yeah, we decided to come off the market. Oh, you're going on with another agent? No, we've just decided to call the day for a bit. And then next week, it's on with your biggest competitor, a better price with better marketing, and you think, oh God. You can stop all that by sending qualified, good on-the-market letters, not the regular bullshit that everybody's sending. Be authentic. Just tell them what's happening in your local market. Of course, you can improve things, but I think
you've got to know though as well. That's one of the biggest things, the biggest skills I learned in the last 18 months is, well, no, longer than that actually now, 2024, last 4 years has been knowing, not what I'm talking about, but knowing to talk about the things like interest rates, inflation, like all those kind of things, like, quantitative easing, everything that kind of affects the wider economy. That's different. If you're going at Joe Blogg's lower end of the market, which is where I was many years ago, then you don't have to have those sort of conversations. But when you're meeting people at the mid, certainly at the upper end of the market, you need to be able to talk through things like, how inflation is impacting the market and what that actually means and looks like. And then you also need to articulate that to people through different channels. So whether it be social media or direct mail, and then once you need to learn what you're sending out as well, because it's all good. You could buy letters and subscribe to letters to send out to people, but you actually need to know what is going out and the content of that, because the amount of times so we set, obviously, without going back to our quarterly update letters, the amount of appointments I go to where sellers go to me and they've got it out in front. Like I like to call it bulldog marketing at times, because it's always sat there in a bulldog clip where they've had like 7 or 8 letters from you, and it's there and they're going through it and they're going, right. So, what do you think to inflation and wage growth? And you say, well, it matched it really. I think the stat was like 6.4% or 4.6%, whichever way around it was. And knowing what you're talking about and how that's going to impact the market, but then equally how that's going to impact them, that gives them real confidence that you know what you're talking about, because it's not always just about tidying up this, doing that. You've got to be informed on what's in the market. So even if they are your clients and you're speaking to them on a weekly basis, just talking about communication, you're telling them what the market's doing. Before Christmas, when I was ringing my clients, I was saying, look guys, it's looking good for the first quarter of next year, because the 5-year swap rate has decreased by 1% this week. The 2-year swap rates have decreased by 0.5%. That's only going to feed into the mortgage market, and we're going to see, and lo and behold, we're going to see interest rates offered by banks lower than the BOE base rate. And that is because a lot of the lenders have borrowed money at the lower rates previously. They need to lend it, and it's just causing a great price war at the moment, which is great for buyers, and it's going to be a real kind of positive spin for the market moving forward. And just knowing what that is and talking about that and articulating it, I think really kind of wins clients over.
I agree. Yeah, one thing that I've started doing recently, because I went through a period of not reading the news at all, because I'm all about only positivity, and I don't want any negativity because it just brings me down and stuff. But then actually, like you just said, James, you do need to be aware of things that are going on. So I've got the Telegraph app on my phone now and on my laptop. I don't really check it very much, maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, but just to sort of catch the headlines of what's going on, because a lot of the clients you meet, especially mid to higher end, they're all over the Telegraph and the Guardian and then the sort of broadsheets. Yeah, so you can sort of converse with them about things that are going on. As a salesman, you can talk till the cows come home, but you need to be able to have a few things in your head, don't you, of the sort of general current affairs, I think.
Yeah, let's be clear. We're not saying like read the Financial Times every day and that sort of. There's so much data available to us from great companies as well. I mean, I like Dataloft, for example. I know there's 20AA, people like that. But you can even, I get loads of emails every day. I've just subscribed to lots of data websites and property and financial websites. And most of the time you just delete them, but you'll get the odd nugget. So if it's like you were just talking about then, James, the banks are at war over prices now, but how many people actually know that? It may come up on Sky News saying HSBC have lowered their rates, but it doesn't then say HSBC, NatWest, Skipton, Coventry, And I'm constantly getting emails and updates from individual banks. I mean, we have a finance arm as well, so we've got a little bit more behind the scenes, but it's this news that's coming through that gives me the information that I can then relay to existing vendors that are on the market with me, and maybe their price needs a tweak or they just want that information. But ultimately, you can go and educate your market that you're trying to attract. So it is really, really important that you scrub up on that and don't just rely on your regular comparables and things like that. Look at what's actually going on and give them a proper informed opinion. It's really, really important. Certainly at this end of the market as well. I think your client expects it.
Yeah, they do. One thing I picked up on before from you, Dave, that we didn't really clarify was that in your letters, you need to appeal to the pain points of the buyers.
Yes.
I think that's what you were saying, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So when it's lack of communication or shit marketing, obviously don't put shit marketing in your letter. But appealing to the pain points of the buyer is key.
Yeah, and just going back to dead quick, because I know we're on the minutes now, but a lot of the time they don't know that the marketing's shite.
No.
And they need it pointing out. And how often do you get a property that's been on the market with another agent, transform it, and they go, "Oh my God," and think, and the agent's got a duty of care to get that right and been transparent about pricing from day one as well, because we've talked about it. We mentioned it in our last letter that if you go on at the wrong price and you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, especially when the market's been dropping a little bit. It's okay when the market's going up if you wait and wait and wait and wait, because obviously you're going to gain. But when the market's dropping, you need that advice. You need that honest advice. And this is when the knowledge of your local area and what's happening in the market comes in. Because you could miss the boat, as we put in that letter. If you alter your price too late, you could miss the boat and your prices drop further than what it was worth in the first place, or what they said it was worth in the first place. So it is really, really important that. Guys, I know, are we on the minutes now? What time are you on? Incredible valuations to go to.
But I think, just to recap then, so what people need to do moving forward, get quarterly update letters. That's a huge part of getting into the homes at the mid to higher end consistently. And what's the phrase? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah. So, my God. Anecdote. You're the king of anecdotes, James.
Konnichiwa. So
can I just say, mate, with that, yes, you've got to be sending quarterly market updates every month to the same houses.
Every quarter,
sorry, yeah. That's ridiculous comment. Every quarter. You've got to be sending daily updates every quarter to every month on the market. But my point was, you've got to do it for, I would say, a minimum of 12 months. Minimum. I actually think, I've been thinking about this in the last couple of weeks. I think it's probably longer, I think it's probably 18 months, 2 years, something like that. to really start to see the results that we're getting now. I know that off the last 2 letters that we've sent, we've got in the doors of, the 3 of us have got in the doors of something like £46 million worth of properties. And we do not only operate at the higher end. Our average is 850. We don't just sell millions. So that is an amazing result off the 3 of us sending 2 letters. But it's because we've been sending them for so long. So people, if they're doing it, you've got to do it and commit to doing it, but you will reap the rewards further down the line. You really
Can I make a point on that as well? Especially, I mean, James, you've got your office, your office based. Ian, you're the same as me. We're both in kind of serviced office buildings, if you like. So if you operate like that, if you've not got a high street agent where maybe you haven't got the footfall or people walking past or driving past in a car every day, the quarterly not on the market letter is a game changer, because it's getting your brand in front of the right people every quarter. And of course, you're going to get the ones that won't even look at it and chuck it in the bin or whatever.
Of course.
How many times do you go to evaluation and they might be on the 7th or 8th letter?
Yeah.
And they read it every quarter, and they even keep them and show you that they've been keeping them.
I mean, that's true. But one of the things that we'll probably come on to a different podcast now is that it's not just about that. There's so much more that goes into it behind.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And one thing I see that most agents don't do is social media correctly in terms of their community. And I think that's something we could probably do a much deeper dive into on another pod.
Yes.
Just to summarize then, start moving forward for the future, but for now, actionable for the next 30, 60, 90 days, getting on the market letter together. Obviously, we've got our own that we use, but getting on the market letter together and go after the homes that you think you could genuinely make a difference to. Look at how you can actually make a difference to that client, and pattern interrupts. Don't just send, we can sell your house, we've been selling so and so houses. Don't talk about you, talk about them, and give them a reason to call you. Talk about inform them, and again, talk, like Ian said, talk about the pain points of the buyers. Give them a reason to call you, and then when they do call you, if they're not on your database already, that's 2 things, isn't it? First thing is people that are immediately available to talk to. Go through your database, who's on the market, who's currently trying to sell, who can you have a conversation with, and who can you deliver value to, or get through the door of and potentially make a difference and add value. And then secondly, the people that you haven't got and the people that you do want to help, put something together, put it through their door, and that should start to bear fruit for you.
Yeah. Can I skim through a few things dead quick that came to mind? Buyer letters, those have been mega successful for us. In practice, it's probably one of the biggest returns on investment. If you've got a good buyer, don't just send out the standard corporate letter that says Mr. and Mrs. S are looking for a property in your area. Get into the detail. What are they actually looking for? Describe the house that they're looking for. Tell them the story about this client. They've recently gone under offer with a nice big 5-bed detached property in the best area in wherever, best street in the best area, and they're now looking for a bungalow. And that bungalow needs to have a garden. It needs to have at least 3 bedrooms, ideally a garage or space to build one. Get into the detail and send it to the properties that you think would fit that client. They are great. They're really, really good. We had a really good one just before Christmas, sent 125 letters for a buyer, got 4 responses from it. 1 was the perfect property, 3 were other valuations. None of those have come on the market yet, but they're now in a nurture campaign. So that's buyer letters. Again, probably another pod on its own.
Definitely.
Email old stock that you've valued in the last 3 years. We've had great success with this, consistently doing it. So if you went to a property in 2020 and nothing happened with it, think how much the value of that property has gone up.
Yeah.
In pound notes. So we know, so my area, for example, let's look at Bury, Ian. That is Bury. So let's look at Bury. So that's gone up 34% in 3 years, which is which is equivalent to 10 years growth.
Yeah.
In this decade. So it's incredible that. So if you're sitting in a £500,000 house in 2020, if I came to value your home and I said your house is worth £500,000, there is a chance that that house is now worth £650,000.
Yeah.
Do they know that? Do they know that? Are you telling them that? Just send them an email. Just what are you thinking? What have you been doing? I valued your property back in 2020. This is what the market's done over the last 3 years. And if your house was worth 500,000 now, this is likely what it's worth now. Do you want to have a chat? Ian, you and I sent an email once to that effect and got valuations very, very quickly, a number of them. It works.
Yeah.
And the other one that's worked really well for me is postcards. So if you quickly record a video I use Loom, so you can actually review so this is for on-market properties, by the way. So if there's a property that you really, really want and you think you could add value to, I usually get it up on screen share using Loom, and I just record myself talking about their advert, how I feel I can add improvements to that advert. You know, if I were you, it looks like you've got an amazing view at the back. You don't seem to have any drone footage at the moment. I think it would be great if you did that. Once again, you're not necessarily pitching for the business. You're telling them what they can do to improve their chances to sell.
Yeah.
Record that, get a bit.ly link, which is a URL shortener if you weren't sure. It's free. Pop it on a postcard, handwrite it, and send it to the client. I've had good responses of that in the past as well. So I just picked up on that as we were talking. So that's
the
me.
thing is, as well, with that, you've got to go to one thing you guys have got to do if you're listening to this and you want the results. You've actually got to put the bloody graft in. You know, it's all good sitting there and saying, "Oh, that was a great podcast. That's a great idea." Just take one of the ideas and do something with it, because the amount of times that I speak to people, they go, "Oh yeah, I know that," and like, well, what have you done with it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Grab, if you grab one thing, if it's an on the market letter, write it, send it. Buy a letter, write it, send it.
Yeah.
If nothing else, get Loom. If you're not busy and you haven't got instructions or valuations coming in, if you do nothing, you will get nothing.
Yeah.
So spend some time, find a house that you're really excited about and you could make a difference to. Do what Dave's just said. Record the Loom video, and if you're that passionate about getting that house, don't be lazy and send it through the post. Get the postcard printed to your office and hand deliver it. Knock on the door. There's always something that you can do, and the result is always in your hands. It's whether you actually.
That's true. Yeah, it's pretty much free. A lot of these ideas James just been talking about are pretty much free to do. And I think for me, it's a reason that I no longer worry about competition, which I used to do all the time. And I think maybe it's when you get older as well and a bit wiser. But one of the reasons I don't worry about competition now is because no one implements. Something like I don't know what the stat is, James. You better have a stats than me, but something like 99% of people don't implement what they learn. So you have guys, if you're an agent, independent agent out there, you have a massive opportunity here to really capitalize and get the houses that you want, but you've got to implement. I also think you've got a big opportunity because the younger generation aren't there yet. The younger generation who are much better than us on social media and who are much better than us. They're all okay on video. They're not, they're not there yet. No. Especially the mid to higher end, you need a bit of maturity behind you. So I think there's a huge opportunity, but you've got to implement.
And be consistent with it. It's boring. Everyone always talks about consistency, but implement and be consistent with it. They're simple things.
It's not difficult.
No.
You know what, as well, by the way, the consistency, though, people do think it's difficult. I think the implementation of sending a quarterly letter to clients that are not on the market, and there's 5,000, 7,500 you were, James, I do 5,000 a quarter. How do you get 5,000 letters out a quarter? Somebody, when you put it like that, people just go, hang on, I've got to write a long form 6-page letter or whatever it is. I've got to get them in envelopes. I've got to stamp them. I've got to send them to 5,000 people every quarter on the level of staff that we've got. There are systems that you can put in place to make sure this consistently happens. And that,
just an unashamed sales pitch, we can help with all of that.
Of course.
I was speaking to a complete agent member who's coming on board this week, and I've sent him over our processes for doing it. And it's very, very doable. It's very, very doable if you know what you're doing.
Of course,
if you haven't got the time to invest, then if you've got. Thing is, there'll be a lot of people sat here listening to this that have had really great 21, 22s and put some real cash in the bank, and there'll be now is the time to while that money's eating away, but before it starts eating away and eating away and eating away, and you've done nothing, invest some of that money. If you haven't got the time to invest to do that, then you can use one of our process and pay to fast forward that until you've got the process in place.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think you need to implement something consistently that you're going to do all the time. We must have mentioned 5 or 6 things here. Doing them all is overwhelming and it will be difficult. So reiterating what you were saying, James, just pick one thing and become really good at it and do it consistently. The one thing that consistently works for us and helps build brand, reputation, and shows that you're an authority in the area is that letter, and that you send it every quarter to the target homes that you want. No doubt. You've got to get that out consistently. For me, you should do that straight away. Find the system that works for you. And as Ian just said there is something for every type of business. Me, James, and Ian all do it slightly differently and get them out every quarter.
We all send the same letter, don't we? The three of us send the same letter because we write it between us, but we all send it out differently. But we all
with relevant stats to the area and stuff. Like our obviously statistics and everything change area by area, but in the main, the content is the same. Like I say, we sit down once a quarter.
But the key is, it's done. It gets done without fail every quarter, and it's not as hard as people think. But then, if you need quick wins, because there'll be people out there who don't have many valuations in the diary, it's all well and good us saying we've had a great start and we've all got 15, 20 valuation. Some won't. So pick something that you become really good at.
Dave, I'm wondering, just to interrupt, I'm wondering if next week we should put together 3 free things you can do.
Yeah, it might be a good show.
Or even if someone's listened this far in, like a free buy letter, message us and we'll send you a buy letter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. I think the 3 things is important, because it's all very well us sitting here with our 10 grand fees saying, yeah, we send out all these letters a month. But if you're on a lower budget and you're just starting off, or you just want to get to the higher end, I can definitely help with 3 things that I did early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that next week.
But just like I say, if you feel time is against you, you do need to get consistent and pick one thing that will really work. Like I say, I think the postcards, the videos, the video postcards are great if you want a quick win, because I think they do work. Bio letters are great, but there's so much, and there's gold in your database, like we've said. So if you've got a database of clients, you need to be getting onto that. For me, there's loads of stuff, but like you say, let's do that.
Cool. Shall we call it there then, guys?
Think so?
No, I'd like to carry on talking, please.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
I think that's a good place to call it there. So we're not going to say like and subscribe. And now, if you've listened all the way through, thanks for bearing with us. And
please like and subscribe and share.
And we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
See you soon.